The following program is brought to you by Naleo TV, the People's Platform.
Keeping our island community informed and secure. Be alert, be aware, and care. Together we can have a safe Hawaii.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the October edition of the Personal Preparedness Podcast with Hawaii County Civil Defense. I'm Adam Weintraub. I'm a staff officer with Civil Defense. I'm here today with Bill Hansen. Bill is an administrative officer with Civil Defense, and we are here to talk today about seismic safety. Now, there has been a lot of discussion over the last few months, with good reason, about tsunamis and seismic activity are intimately related, but just because there's no tsunami, that does not mean that there's no hazard. Earthquakes are a hazard in their own right, and that is one of the hazards that is most present here on Hawaiʻi Island. If there's one thing we have plenty of, it's seismicity. Bill has been through a few more of these earthquakes than I have, so he'll be offering some expert insight and some of the history of seismicity here on Hawaiʻi Island. Earthquakes do not have to cause a tsunami in order to cause substantial damage. They can cause closures of roads. They can cause damage to buildings. They can cause direct casualties and indirect casualties. It's a serious hazard, and it's one that bears consideration as a standalone sort of a hazard. Most of the quakes that we experience here on Hawaiʻi Island are very small. You may not even feel them. That's particularly the case on the flanks of the volcanoes, down around Pahala and those areas. You may get dozens of tiny quakes per day to the point where they don't even register. But every now and then, you'll get a substantial shaker, and that can cause property damage, and it can cause injuries or even deaths. I'll give you just a couple of examples so that we're grounded in the subject matter that we're talking about. Some of you may remember Kiholo Bay. The Kiholo Bay quake in 2006 was a 6.7 magnitude quake. It was just offshore from Kona Airport, and it destroyed at least 61 buildings and caused more than $200 million worth of damage, affecting the Big Island, the Maui, and it even cut the power for hours in Honolulu. On May 4th, 2018, it was easy to miss it because of the volcanic eruption that was taking place down in Puna, but we simultaneously had a 6.9 quake during that incident. It was associated with the eruption of Kilauea. It damaged buildings, it caused landslides, and it damaged some roads so badly that they had to be shut down. And next month, if you're watching this in October of 2025, next month marks the 50th anniversary of an earthquake that caused a tsunami as high as 47 feet above normal sea level. The 7.7 magnitude quake on November 29th of 1975 caused the death of 2 people, injured dozens more, and it dropped the land level on parts of the South Hawaii coast by as much as 12 feet below the ocean. Bill, how common are these sorts of big shakers that cause substantial damage and injuries?
Yeah, Adam, so you took us back 19 years ago, then also another 7 years ago, those 2 earthquakes. It's goes back even before geological or recorded time in history. So going forward in the next 10 years, there's a 50-50 chance that we would see magnitude 6.5 earthquake or greater. So those of you who have lived through some of these, we can also live through probably a couple of more in the next several years, including, like I said, 10 years from within the next 10 years, we're almost guaranteed to have a 6.5 or greater earthquake.
So that raises the question, since this is the Personal Preparedness Podcast, of how can you stay safe when these sorts of incidents occur? Depending on when you see this, if it's the beginning of October or toward the end of October, you may have a chance to take part in the world's largest earthquake drill. It's called the Great ShakeOut. The local version of it is called the Great Hawaiʻi ShakeOut. And that takes place on the third Thursday of October every year. This particular year, the calendar dictates that it's October 16th, and it takes place 10-16 at 10-16 a.m. At that time, thousands of Hawaiʻi Island residents will be practicing the key safety steps for earthquake safety. Those are drop, cover, and hold on. Now, those are convenient ways to remember this, but Bill, tell us a little bit more about what we mean by drop, cover, and hold on.
Yeah, very convenient ways to remember these. So the first one is drop. Drop. Why are we wanting to drop? An earthquake can be so great that it could not only startle you, but even knock you off your feet. So if you were to be knocked off your feet, there would be some potential for injury, especially your head area.
Good way to get a head injury.
Yeah. So what you want to do is you want to crouch down, drop down, even drop to your knees, your hands and knees, so that you're stable.
And then the next part, cover. It almost sounds like it's part of the same motion.
Right. And, maybe some of you might remember in your school or even at your school, or even now, that you practice this drop, cover, hold on. So the drop, cover, the cover portion is find somewhere that's safe, like under a desk, under a picnic table,
Dining room table.
Something that's strong enough to withstand the possibility of something falling on you. So you want to cover under a structure, like I said, a desk, table that can withstand the forces of something falling down on you.
Okay, and then hold on seems fairly self-explanatory, but if things are really shaking, you may need to hold on to keep that cover over you.
Right. I don't know if you've seen some videos sometimes of places that have had some pretty good shakers. Things are moving around, right? That desk might not just want to stay there, but you want to make sure that you stay underneath that desk or that table. So grab onto it, grab onto the leg, hold on, find some way to secure yourself to that piece of furniture so that it can remain above you to keep you safe.
Now, not everybody is going to be in an area where there is something they can crouch under or take cover under.
That's
if
right.
You're in an open area, what do you do to stay safe there?
Right, in an open area, we're talking possibly you're outside, something like that. The most vulnerable parts of your body is going to be your head and your neck. So you want to, assume that position and grab on, maybe in the crouch position. Again, you're going to do the drop cover, but this time to cover, you're going to be using your arms and your hands to protect your head and your neck area.
So instead of a bear attack, you're thinking about a seismic attack. You're covering the vulnerable portions of yourself until the shaking stops.
Right, and you're going to try to find somewhere that's safe, like in a doorway or things like that, but you never know what's above you that could shake loose. Yeah.
Okay, so now the shaking is stopping. What other steps should you take just to make sure that you are immediately safe? There are other kinds of impacts that the quake can cause, correct?
Right, so we're not only let's say I'm outside of a house or outside of a building, but what if I was like in a vehicle? What if I was in a car? And I'm going down the road? Definitely what you want to do is try to pull over as safe as you can to the side of the road and maintain your position inside the car. Stop the car, park it, and then wait until the shaking subsides.
That metal cage is going to resist anything falling on you better than if you were out in the open.
Yes, definitely. You don't want to go outside of your vehicle.
Okay, and what about the potential of damage if you are in a structure or something like that? I mean, do you need to be sure that the structure is safe?
So not only the structure, right? You'd want to make sure that you probably even remove yourself from that a potential of a secondary, there's aftershocks, right? And perhaps other things can start to fall down. But in moving, sometimes there might be glass in the way. There might be other objects in the way. And I don't know if you've ever tried standing on glass, but it's pretty slippery. So you want to take into consideration the environment that you're in. And there's another environment too, right, Adam? That's the shoreline. I mean, Hawaii is surrounded by ocean. And so that's another area we should talk about as well.
We have been focusing on just the seismic component, but anytime we've got a local seismic activity, it could have a related tsunami. So if you are by the coast, what are the special steps that you need to take?
Right. So you're next to the ocean, you're at the beach, maybe having a really nice day, or you're there opihi picking on the shoreline, or you have a line down in the water, and you feel a shake, and it's large. It's large enough to either knock you off your feet or scare you. In that case, wow, maybe we should consider the next thing that could come of that earthquake, and that is the potential for a tsunami. Now, because of the sudden onset of that, you'll want to still do the 3 steps that we had talked about.
Drop, cover, and hold on. But once you're done and the shaking stops, there's a 4th step, it sounds like.
There's a 4th step, and that is to head to higher ground, because you'll see some signs. There will either be the visual signs of the ocean receding. You're looking at rocks. You're looking at fish now. You're looking at the reef now. And there's also audible signs. There may be a roar that's not common. You're saying, I've never heard that roar. Well, that roar might be a tsunami wave or waves that are now heading back in.
And these are all the natural signs that you need to get to high ground at that point.
Right. These are natural signs. And they're going to be, the onset is so quick that there might not be time even for emergency management to sound the sirens. So the question is, what do you do?
So this is a case where you can trust the messages of your own senses and take action to protect yourself.
Yeah, those are the God-given senses that we have. And that is, if you feel that something's not right, head to higher ground.
Okay. I want to throw in one further thought. If you are in a structure and you feel seismic action, and once the shaking stops, you smell gas, get out of that facility. If it's not safe for you to shut off the gas, just leave. If it is safe for you to shut it off at the main, go ahead and do that. It'll help keep rescuers safer. But the first order of business is to get out of that dangerous environment.
Gas. You also have the water lines that could be ruptured. There's electrical lines that could be energized. So those are some dangers that occur that come with a violent shaking that comes from an earthquake.
Okay, those are the basics of staying safe for seismicity. Earthquakes are fairly rare even on the Big Island, but knowing these steps can help keep you safe when one hits. To learn more about earthquakes and about the Great Shakeout, visit shakeout.org/Hawaiʻi, and we'll see you next time.
Aloha, and welcome to another episode of Police Profiles. I'm Denise Leitonen with Hawaii Police Department, and with me today is Area 2 Juvenile Aid Section Lieutenant Brandon Mansur. Lieutenant, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you.
You know, October is Domestic Violence Month, and it's a really serious topic that affects millions of people nationwide and affects a lot of people here locally on the Big Island. Before we jump into domestic violence, tell myself and our viewers a little bit about yourself. What do you do in JAS, and how long have you been in the Hawaii Police Department?
I've been in the Hawaii Police Department for about 17 years now. The Juvenile Aid Section, we have 2 different sides. We have the East Side Juvenile Aid Section, we have West Side Juvenile Aid Section. You can kind of think of us as like the special victims unit of our department. We deal with sexual assault cases. We deal with domestic violence, as well as cases where the perpetrator might be a juvenile, say like graffiti cases or burglaries where
runaways.
Runaways. We basically have 3 different sections, subsections within JAS. So we have sex assault detail, domestic violence detail, and general detail for the juveniles. But the name of our section can be a little bit misleading. We don't just deal with cases involving juveniles. We actually deal with adults as well as juveniles. So any sex assault case, whether it involves adults or juveniles, it comes to us. Same thing with domestic violence cases. We take cases with adults and juveniles as well.
What are you and your team seeing more of these days?
Well, I would say that most of patrol's calls, the active calls that they respond to, are domestic violence between partners, married couples or people in a dating relationship. But we also receive a lot of intakes through child welfare services that involves reports of domestic violence against children. To say which one is more prevalent is that's a very difficult question to answer, because unfortunately we receive so much reports for both domestic violence against partners as well as against children.
And I know you only deal with the West Side, so your numbers are just indicative of the West Side. But what kind of numbers are we talking about?
We have roughly 800 or so cases every year of domestic violence, and that's just cases that we've sent to the prosecutor's office. So that's cases that maybe we've arrested and charged somebody. That's about half of it. That's about 400, and the other 400 is cases that we've investigated and deferred to the prosecutor's office.
800 cases a year. That's basically 2 almost every single day, including Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. And that's just what you're able to charge and send to the prosecutor. So there's probably a whole lot more that don't even get reported.
Yes, a ton more. So that's not including the times that we just respond to houses as, say, it's like a domestic dispute, but maybe not necessarily hadn't gotten physical or anything. It's just arguments or cases, or let's say we issue a what we call a 48-hour warning citation, which is like a kind of like a miniature TRO, a short-term TRO that the police officer issues. Those stats that I mentioned doesn't include those instances where a police officer responds and gives them that stay away order. And yeah, there are a lot of cases that just go unreported, unfortunately. So that 800 number is basically just the cases that have been sent to the prosecutors.
Gotcha. And so for people, both men and women, because we know men can experience domestic violence as well, for those that find themselves in a domestic violence situation and suffering at the hands of domestic abuse, what kind of resources are available? What kind of tips would you share?
We have a lot of agencies that we work with to provide resources to victims of domestic violence. So the first number is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That's 1-800-799-7233. We also have a domestic violence TTY for hearing impaired individuals. That's 1-800-787-3244. So those are national numbers, but locally we have the domestic violence shelter here on the east side. That's 808-959-8864. And the domestic violence shelter on the west side of the Big Island is 808-322-7233. We also have a hotline for teens experiencing dating abuse. That's national. That's 1-866-331-9474.
And are you seeing a lot of teen domestic dating abuse as well?
I'd say that that's not really as prevalent as like the adult partner domestic violence, but it does happen. Yeah.
When it comes to domestic violence, and it's very difficult for people to leave those situations. What are some of the tips that you can offer people who are currently in domestic violent situations that are looking to leave, that want to leave?
So I would say the best agencies to work with, the best numbers to call would be Child Family Services. They're the ones that run the domestic violence shelters here on this island, but they also provide a lot of resources to victims. I would say if you're worried about, you don't have transportation or you don't have a phone, you can try to get in touch with the Victims Assistance Unit within the prosecutor's office. The phone number phone number for them is 808-322-2552. You just call that number. That's actually the main line for the prosecutor's office. You just ask to speak to the Victims Assistance Unit, the VAU. Let's say you don't want to use your phone because you don't want to be tracked by the perpetrator or something like that. The Victims Assistance Unit can oftentimes provide a smartphone for you to use temporarily, free of charge, so that you can still communicate. You can call police, or just you can use it for whatever you need to during a short period of time that they'll let you borrow the phone. That's just one example of what they can do. The domestic violence, say you don't have a place to stay, you can check into the domestic violence shelter, and they can assist you with that.
Do domestic abuse survivors ever reach out and say, I want to leave my partner, but I don't know how help me make a plan?
Yeah. So again, the Victims Assistance Unit and Child and Family Services are great at assisting with that, with developing a safety plan. I think the most important thing is to let somebody know what's going on, right? Let somebody who you trust, a family member, a close friend, let them know what's going on. One of the things that we always recommend is to consider getting a TRO, temporary restraining order. So Child Family Services can assist with that. I believe we have a link on our website, hawaiipolice.gov. We just changed our web address recently. So we have a link on that website that can walk people through the process of how to get a TRO, or if you want to just call Child Family Services, is 808-323-2664. And on the east side here in Hilo, it's 808-935-2188. Basically, they can walk you through the process. You just give them a call, and they will help you step by step. You can meet with them. They'll help you do the paperwork. They make it really easy. And you can apply for a TRO that same day, as long as it's not like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If you start in the morning, you can get that process done pretty quickly, usually same day. If you are a victim of domestic violence and the perpetrator has been issued a stay-away notice, the purpose of that stay-away notice is to allow the victim time to apply for a temporary restraining order.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Lieutenant. I know we covered an awful lot of information, an awful lot of ground. And again, all this information is available on our website, hawaiipolice.gov. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to our viewers for watching, and stay tuned for next time. Aloha.
I am Officer Kaipo Aurello of the Hawaiʻi Police Department, and I am here to ask for your assistance in locating individuals who you will see in just a moment. Our department depends on you to work with us by acting as our eyes and ears out in the community. If you provide an anonymous tip through Crime Stoppers, you may be eligible for a reward of up to $1,000. Crime Stoppers is a volunteer program run by ordinary citizens like you who want to keep our community safe. Here's how it works. First, get a code. Next, use your code to track your status and then collect your reward. It's that easy. Here are some individuals we need your help in locating. Please call if you know their whereabouts.
We are looking for 37-year-old Aaron Kaolovi, who is wanted on one outstanding warrant with a total bail amount of $20,000. Kaolovi is described as having a heavy build, about 6 feet tall, 350 pounds, with black hair, brown eyes, and a large Polynesian-style tattoo covering his right forearm. Kaolovi's last known address is in the Waimea area, and he is known to frequent the Waikoloa Village and Waimea areas. Help us locate 29-year-old Joshua Kealoha, who is wanted on a $2,000 warrant stemming from a previous arrest for excessive speeding, DUI, and driving with a suspended or revoked driver license. Kealoha is part Hawaiian, 5 feet 7 inches tall, 150 pounds, with brown hair and hazel eyes. He is known to frequent Waimea and Kailua Kona areas. Be on the lookout for 23-year-old Skeoni Matthew, who is wanted on one outstanding warrant with a total bail amount of $5,000. Matthew has an average build, is 5 feet 10 inches tall, 179 pounds, with a long black hair, brown eyes, as well as a mustache and beard. His last known address is in the Waikoloa Village area, and he is known to frequent the Waikoloa Village and Waimea areas. We're looking for 43-year-old Cole Race Joaquin of Honoka'a, who is wanted for a $50,000 arrest warrant. Race Joaquin is 5 feet 7 inches tall, 150 pounds, with black hair, brown eyes, and numerous tattoos on his face and body. He is known to frequent the Puna, Hamakua, and Ka'u districts and should be considered armed and dangerous. Help us locate 39-year-old Casey Huya Sam, who has 2 outstanding warrants totaling $35,000. Known to frequent the Honoka'a and Waimea areas, Huya Sam is 5 feet 10 inches tall, 190 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Please help us locate 43-year-old Adam Nacionales, who is wanted on 2 arrest warrants totaling $100,000. He is 5 feet 9 inches tall, 200 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Nacionales is known to frequent the downtown Hilo and Wainaku areas. Please help us locate 31-year-old Kapono Ikaika Cruz Labrador of Hilo, who is wanted for an outstanding traffic warrant. Labrador is described as 5 feet 5 inches tall, 160 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes, as well as numerous tattoos on his neck and body. Be on the lookout for 26-year-old Irosen Amaro Trujillo Ramos of Captain Cook, who is wanted for an outstanding grand jury indictment warrant. He is described as 5 feet 8 inches tall, 160 pounds. We are looking for 39-year-old Keali'io Kekai Kamanu, who is wanted for 2 outstanding warrants and 4 APBs. Kamanu is described as having a medium build, 5 feet 11 inches tall, 180 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He frequents Lower Puna area, mostly in the vicinity of Kalapana and Leilani Estate subdivision. Please help us locate 33-year-old Christopher Matos, who is wanted on 3 outstanding warrants and 6 APBs. Matos has a large build, is 5 feet 11 inches tall, 195 pounds, with short black hair and brown eyes. He is known to frequent the Lower and Upper Puna area. Matos is also known to be armed and dangerous and should not be approached. Call us if you know the whereabouts of 45-year-old Lena Schlitzkes, who is wanted on an outstanding warrant. Schlitzkes is described as 5 feet 9 inches tall, 180 pounds, with shoulder-length black hair and brown eyes. She is known to frequent the Lower Puna area, particularly the Hawaiian Beaches subdivision. Be on the lookout for 31-year-old Clayton Yamamoto, who is wanted for 4 outstanding warrants and 2 APBs. Yamamoto is described as having a medium build, 5 feet 11 inches tall, 185 pounds, with short black hair and brown eyes. He is known to frequent the Ainaloa and Hawaiian Beaches subdivisions in Lower Puna. Please help us locate 28-year-old Johnson Heckers, who is wanted for questioning regarding multiple vehicle theft investigations. Heckers is described as 5 feet 7 inches tall, 150 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He is known to reside in the Ocean View area. Please be on the lookout for 44-year-old Ross Piper of Ocean View, who is wanted on 2 outstanding warrants totaling $2,000, as well as for questioning relative to multiple criminal investigations involving auto theft. Piper is described as 5 feet 9 inches tall, 165 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. Call us if you know the whereabouts of 39-year-old Kendrick Sanders, who is wanted for questioning for multiple criminal investigations involving violating a temporary restraining order. He is described as being 5 feet 11 inches tall, 180 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. Sanders is known to frequent the Ocean View and South Kona areas. Be on the lookout for 34-year-old Kira Lazar, who is wanted for an outstanding warrant totaling $50,000. Lazar is described as being 5 feet 9 inches tall, 130 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. She is known to reside in the Ocean View area.
As always, we want to thank you for your assistance in helping us to locate these individuals. Tipsters who prefer to remain anonymous may call the island-wide Crime Stoppers number at 808-961-8300 and may be eligible for a reward of up to $1,000. Crime Stoppers does not record calls or use caller ID. Hawaiʻi Island's Most Wanted is a project of Crime Stoppers Hilo, Inc., which is a partnership of the business community, the media, and the police. It was inspired by the national TV show America's Most Wanted. I am Officer Kaipo Aurello of the Hawaiʻi Police Department. Mahalo for watching.